Producer-director Renny Harlin grew up in Finland dreaming of Hollywood. After making low-budget films, Harlin was given the opportunity to direct the $5 million movie Nightmare on Elm Street 4. That film went on to make more than $50 million and became the highest-grossing independent film ever made. Die Hard 2 with Bruce Willis and Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone placed Harlin in the top ranks of action film directors. His latest effort, The Long Kiss Goodnight, is his second collaboration with his wife, Geena Davis, and also stars Samuel L. Jackson. We're pleased to have Renny Harlin talk about this film and filming action movies. Welcome.
Thank you very much, John.
We were just talking about, as this got started, before we started, $65 million, I said it cost. You said, yes, but that's cheap or reasonable compared to what action movies are costing these days. What is it about action movies that make them, so popular, and so expensive?
I guess it is the sort of bigger-than-life entertainment and fantasy that they offer. They offer the ultimate escape, and they give something that TV can't give people, so people feel that it's worth going to the theater.
If you're paying whatever it is for a babysitter and dinner and something, and you go to the movie and you're going to sit in a big theater, you really want to be taken to a place that you couldn't go by watching TV at home.
Absolutely, and the cost is, the reason is really that these movies just keep getting bigger and bigger. People have seen one action scene, next time they want something more. We've had this year, especially, we've had many of these sort of almost old-fashioned disaster movies, where some storm or some other phenomenon takes over the entire world. Yes.
Yeah. And Mission Impossible would be considered an action film.
Absolutely.
What else? We've had Eraser was considered an action film.
The Rock.
Rock was considered an action film. Yeah. How much of your budget, whether it's this film or others, or generally, go to the actor? What percentage of is there some sense of, if you've got Stallone, or if you've got Samuel Jackson and Geena Davis, if you've got whoever?
Naturally, it really depends on the star, but today, all the top-level action stars make in the neighborhood of $20 million a picture. And then, obviously, you have supporting parts and so on and so forth. But I would say that, as a rule of thumb, you could say that you need 40 million, what we call below the line, meaning excluding the talent, you need about $40 million to make the movie, to actually go there. And another rule of thumb is probably that a shooting day, one day of shooting, costs $150,000 to $200,000.
How many days of shooting in The Long Kiss Goodnight?
We were scheduled to shoot 90 days, and this was the first time actually in my career where I finished the movie in 88 days, very proudly.
You wanted to do that badly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This film, are you want to, in association with Geena, make her into an action genre star? For me, because it's kind of interesting to take someone of a different gender and say, we'll show you we can do it regardless of gender.
Yes, I feel that in some ways, while the society has changed wildly in terms of women's place in the family and in the workplace and so on, I think movies still quite a bit use the old stereotypes, and I think it is obviously it's a challenge, but I think it's a very interesting challenge to say a woman can do this stuff. And obviously, in the case of our movie, we wanted to make sure that we didn't just take Die Hard or take Cliffhanger and say, well, now the hero is a woman, because I think the audience would have a hard time swallowing that. But we said, here's a housewife, and her problem is that she's lost her memory. She doesn't know who she used to be, and she was a highly trained government operative. And in the course of the story, you are gradually going to be taken through the path of her memory and skills coming back. We're not just slamming this action woman into the movie. We sort of explain how she becomes this woman, and try to make it as convincing as possible that she can really do this stuff.
And so where does Samuel L. Jackson fit in?
Well, he's the private detective that she hires to uncover her past. And together they set on this course of discovery and actually find out much more than what they're bargained for.
We talked to Samuel Jackson, and he was a wonderful actor, first of all. Everybody knows that. I mean, you almost as a director, if he's in a scene, forget about your film, but think about Bruce Willis and with John Travolta. If he's in a scene, he's going to steal the scene.
I agree. I agree. Sam's talent is incredible, and his charisma is incredible. And in our story, the character that Shane Black wrote was a pretty hard-edged character. He's a rough guy in the beginning of the story. He uses rough language. He has very chauvinistic attitudes about women and the world and so on. And the way to make the audience like this character was to cast Sam Jackson. He was my first choice, and he actually, luckily, he had read the script and he wanted to do the movie. He has such warmth and charisma that when he's on the screen, it's just something magical happens. And needless to mention, his timing in terms of humor and the things that he improvises. There's a lot of stuff in the movie that actually he added while we were shooting, because it just comes out automatically. And I think when you watch the film, I think the relationship that we developed between Geena and Sam, it's really quite magical.
Nick, would you have is America ready for, and the question is in terms of America's ready for it, but are filmmakers ready to do it in terms of interracial love affairs and love scenes?
I think so. And obviously, this movie is not about a love story. It's really like a buddy story, and they are good friends. But they get very intimate in the.
Was there ever thought of putting that into the screen, that it went beyond just being good friends?
Not really, because in this genre, that didn't feel like it was necessary.
Take a look at this. This is Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis, directed by Renny Harlin. Here it is, Long Kiss Goodnight.
Thank you.
Now, tell me about shooting that scene. I mean, just look at that scene and tell me what was difficult about it.
That scene was not one of the hardest ones, because it's not one of those things where something explodes or some huge, big, elaborate with helicopters happens. I like that scene because it has humor. It's about the characters, and it's it's not so huge.
You're defining the character in terms of her past life. There, we're seeing the results of. We're seeing what it was that she was doing before.
Right.
Do you ever want to make a small, quiet, French love story?
Absolutely, that is my dream, and I really produced a movie 5 years ago called Rambling Rose.
Yeah,
and that's
with Bruce Dern's daughter.
Yes,
Laura Dern
and Diane Ladd, her mother,
right.
and Robert Duvall, and we got 2 Oscar nominations.
You produced it.
And I produced it, and originally when I got the screenplay, my intention was to direct it, but then I learned that Martha Coolidge was already attached to the material. She had been trying to set it up for years and so on. So I said, okay, maybe I can still help somehow, and maybe I can learn something. So I was there every minute of the day on the set, learning and watching and helping where I could as a producer. And I was very jealous of this harmonious, beautiful, warm set where people just sit around and talk.
Yeah, and just very small, quiet relationship story about love and other. I would think, show you how naive I am, that you could go to, I don't know whether you have one favorite studio to work with or not, but you could go to them and say, this is a twofer. I will make your action film if you will distribute my wonderful little story that I want to make, that I've been dreaming of doing. They would say, of course, we'll do that. No?
I think that's a fantastic idea. And you should be my agent, because nobody ever came up with this idea.
Right?
No, absolutely.
That's exactly what you should do.
That's what I'm going to do. You'll watch.
Yeah, but what you have to have now, I mean, is there some little film that you want to make, in a sense, as you have the idea and the story and...
There actually is. This makes it tough, because it's about my childhood and youth in Finland.
Yeah.
So, to tell them to distribute a movie about life in Finland,
what
it makes
was life in Finland like for you?
For me, in particular, it was very lonely, because since I was a little kid, I always felt that I was somehow different, and
Different?
In terms of not being one of those kids who run around with all the other kids and does fun stuff.
A kind of a loner?
I was a loner. I sort of lived in my head. Yeah. I created a world around me. I could be having a dinner with my family, and I would make them, in my mind, be different characters, and I would be having conversations with them, but I would think that I'm actually pretending that I'm talking with them, though I know who they really are, and they don't know who I am, and you know, it was pretty elaborate. It's pretty crazy.
You and Geena, how'd you meet?
I jokingly I say, you know, at least there was one good thing our agents did for us because they set it up, and it was a little over 3 years ago. Geena was expressing interest in doing movies that are a little more action-packed, a little more exciting.
Why did she want to do that?
Because she's a very physical person. She likes sports. She likes athletic stuff. So she was getting a lot of roles as, you know, sort of romantic comedy and so on. So she said, I want to meet somebody who does something that goes boom. And
you said, I'm your guy.
And yeah, and at the same time, I was telling my agents that
I want to meet a woman that goes boom.
No, I want to meet actors that are of the highest caliber.
Yeah.
And they set up a meeting for us, and I always remember it was in the conference room at the agency. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she walked into the room, and I looked at her, and all of a sudden, little birds started singing, and angels came down, and but it was very businesslike in the beginning, and
then that night.
No, it was really like from a movie, because we must have talked for 4 hours, and because when we left the conference room, the lights were off in the corridors. There was a lonely woman just vacuuming the floor, and we looked at each other and said, "Oh, that was a nice meeting," and then started from there.
Sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know, the lights are down. Much success with this film.
Thank you very much.
Having a big sort of premiere here in New York.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and
Nice to
I
meet
hope
you
we
too.
can do this again.
That would be great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.